Welcome. So there are 750,000 franchises in the United States alone. And those franchises employ over 8 million people. If you're new here, my name is Tariq Johnson. I built a multi-million-dollar franchise business with locations in California and Florida. And in this video, we're gonna talk about how franchising works. So we're gonna talk about what is a franchise, how does a franchise work, and then we'll even go into how you could even make money owning a franchise. So here's some brands that are franchises that you may or may not know. So you got brands like McDonald's, Baskin-Robbins, Taco Bell, KFC. One of my personal favorites, Five Guys, Burger King, 7-Eleven, Subway, and even Marriott is a franchise. Now, before we get started, if you like learning about business or you're a small business owner yourself or want to be a business owner, please make sure to hit the little like button below. It helps the YouTube algorithm show this video to more and more people. Also, drop me a comment below and tell me what your favorite franchise brand is or any franchise questions that you have. So make sure to hit the subscribe button as well so that way you make sure to not miss out on any of the other videos that I post. All right, so what is a franchise? Very simply, a franchise is a system in which to operate a business. So for this video, we're gonna use a very easy example that everyone will have heard of, no matter where you live, which is McDonald's. So McDonald's is a franchise company. The first thing we need to know are two different terms. Number one is the term franchisor. Number two is franchisee. So in this example, McDonald's is the franchisor. They're the ones that issue the rights to own and operate a McDonald's location. A franchisee is that person that signs an agreement with McDonald's and gets the rights to own and operate a McDonald's franchise location. So if, let's say, for example, you and your family and some of your buddies all pooled some money together and decided that you wanted to open up a McDonald's, you would be the franchisee and you would sign an agreement with McDonald's, who's the franchisor. So when you sign an agreement with McDonald's, they give you a guide and a system to own and operate your own McDonald's franchise. Now, in that system, you gotta follow their rules, you gotta use their system. It's kind of like if you went to IKEA and you bought a piece of furniture from IKEA. You're basically buying this box. In that box, you have all of the parts, you have the manual, you have the tools, and they're saying, here's the box. Now you have to do the work in order to put the furniture together. So similar to McDonald's, they're going to give you the box, they're gonna give you the tools, they're gonna give you the blueprint, all the parts, and then it's your job to actually put it together with their support, with their instruction manual. And so the way that works is that when you're opening a franchise, you have to pay money in order to get those rights. So as an example, with McDonald's, you will first pay, let's say, your initial franchise fee. So you might pay a $30,000 fee to McDonald's, and all that fee gets you is the rights to own and operate the system. So in that case, if we're going to IKEA and we're planning on buying this piece of furniture, you would pay this fee just for the right to have that piece of furniture. That doesn't even actually buy you all of the tools and everything yet. And then so secondly, after you pay that initial franchise fee to sign the agreement and to get the right to operate a location, now you gotta pay all the money to get that location open. So you gotta sign a lease, you gotta put a deposit on that lease, you gotta find a place to own and operate the business, you have to hire a contractor to build your location, or if you already have a location, you got to go in and hire the contractor to make it look like the actual business. So as an example, when my wife and I bought our first franchise, we leased a space and then we had to pay a couple $100,000 to have it all built out and make it look like the franchise brand. So with the McDonald's, that can range from $1 million all the way to $2 million. With other franchise locations, you can own a franchise for as little as a few $1,000s. Just depends on what kind of franchise it is. So when someone hears, hey, wow, a Steak and Shake, you can get a Steak and Shake franchise for only $10,000. Well, hold on a second. That $10,000 is just the fee to get the business open. Then you still have to get a loan or figure out a way to come up with the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $1 million to get that business open, depending upon what kind of business that is. So in the example of my wife and I, it took $300,000 to get our business open. So first, we paid our initial franchise fee, which was $25,000. And then after paying an attorney to review the lease, placing the deposit for the lease, deposit with utility companies, permitting, all of the equipment, paying for the general contractor, our initial order for all of our food supplies, it wound up coming out to about $300,000 is what it cost us to get our franchise open. Now, what worked out great for us is that we wound up doing over $30,000 in sales our second month in business, and so we were able to get that profitable our second month in business. If you want to learn how we did that, I created a whole 23-page blueprint and guide that you can use because I love helping people, which is why I make these videos. But I created that guide called my 7-Step Blueprint to Business Profits in 60 Days so that you can use it as the blueprint to create your own successful business or your own successful franchise. So I'll leave a link to that below in the description or the comments or something like that. Or you can just go to my website, tariqjohnson.com, and get it for free. But let's move on. So then once you have the business open, so let's say you have the McDonald's open, you will pay the franchise and McDonald's a percentage of all of your sales so that you maintain the rights to own and operate that business. So as an example, if your McDonald's is doing $2 million a year in sales, you might have to pay 10% in what's called a royalty fee to McDonald's. And that royalty fee pays for the support that you get from McDonald's. It pays for different marketing that they do. You might have to pay a separate percentage called a marketing fund fee, specifically to contribute for all of the ads that McDonald's does. And so those are what's called the royalties. And the royalties are what you pay to the franchisor. That is mostly how the franchisor makes money. The franchisor can also make money by making you purchase your food, your equipment, or any of your supplies from a specific supplier. And so the franchisor may sell you those things directly, and then they get a percentage of it. So that's very common. It's very normal. Some franchisees don't like it. But at the end of the day, the franchisor has to make money. As long as they're not bending you over and really charging you a lot of money for it, then it makes sense. It's a win-win. The franchisor makes money. They continue to reinvest in the system and make things better. And then you make money and you are able to profit and support your family and what your dreams are. So here's a question that you might ask and thinking about, okay, now I'm starting to understand how a franchise works. Why wouldn't McDonald's, the franchisor, why wouldn't they just open up locations themselves? Well, one, McDonald's does. So a lot of franchisors have corporate-owned location and franchise-owned locations that are independently owned and operated. Most franchise companies start out first corporate, and not necessarily corporate as in like big, but a lot of franchises start with someone like you or myself having an idea to create a business. We open a business and then we open 4 or 5 or 6 or 10, and those businesses become successful. And then we go, wow, I really want to grow this brand into a much larger concept. And so what they'll do is, because they don't have the money or the capital to go out and open 100 more locations, and instead of going and getting massive loans or giving someone ownership of their company to raise money, they say, you know what? We're going to package this into a franchise. We're going to go out and sell the rights so that other people can own these franchises. There's a couple of benefits in doing that. One, franchise owners have skin in the game. Have you ever been to a business where you go in, let's say it's like a food business that maybe is a chain or corporate owned, and the employees are just like on their phone. They don't care. They're not doing anything. They're just like, hi, how can I help you today? Well, a lot of times some of those businesses are corporate owned. And so the benefit of a independently owned business is that you have the owner there helping to operate and run the business. They have more skin in the game. And so that increases the likelihood of that business succeeding, as opposed to paying a manager that's just hired by corporate and you're paying them $40,000 or $60,000 a year to run that business that they don't necessarily care about, and they'll kind of leave at any time. Now, I know that's not fair to say for anyone who's an employee and who may be a manager who operates a business. I'm generalizing here. The point is not to try to disrespect you, but generally speaking, those independently owned and operated businesses, the franchisors want people that have skin in the game. Number two is capital, right? So I mentioned this before, is that a lot of the time, these franchisors, they don't have the money to go out and open another 50 or 100 locations. So they're going out there finding people that have the money to open up those locations, and then they're going to support those owners by making the system as best as they can. And so what the franchisor does is they focus on the overall brand, going out there and marketing the brand, getting the name out there. They focus on making sure they get the best suppliers possible for the franchise owners, negotiate the best pricing for those vendors. As an example, McDonald's in 2019, the company bought another company for $300 million. And that was just for McDonald's to have a stake in several companies that develop apps and mobile payment systems and utilize artificial intelligence. So instead of McDonald's spending $300 million and opening up new locations, what they do, they spend the $300 million in investing in the business to make the business be able to run profitably and efficiently. And so at the end of the day, there are hundreds of thousands of franchises. There are over 700,000 franchise locations. And when you open a franchise, or when someone opens a franchise location, you still have to hire the staff. The staff is employed by you, not the franchisor. You still have to find the location. You still have to sign the lease. You still have to run payroll. So as the IKEA example, although you're buying the box that has all the pieces of the furniture, it has all the tools, it has the wrenches, it might have a screwdriver, it's got all the nuts and bolts, it's got the directions and instructions, you still have to do the work and actually put the piece of furniture together. So it's the same thing with the franchise. You might be buying a box with all the tools and the resources and the kit, but at the end of the day, you still have to do all of the work and get that business open and then run and operate that business. So drop me a comment below with any of the franchise questions that you have. I do my best to respond to all of the comments personally. Also, make sure to hit the little like button for the YouTube algorithm. It shows this video to more and more people. And if you're interested in franchise ownership or starting your own business, or if you even have one already, make sure to head to my website, get my free 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days. And again, it's a great 23-page guide and blueprint that shows you exactly how to operate and run a successful business. And guys, I'll leave a playlist here about some other franchise videos, or it's on one of these sides here, but I have a lot of other videos on franchising, how it works, what questions you should ask, how they make money, basically everything you want to know about owning a franchise. I really hope you got value out of this video. My intention is to serve you and to help you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.